Did you know that the 8th century saw the rise of a holy order dedicated to serving God and kicking ass? No, not the Doom, but an organization within the Catholic Church called the Knights Templar. These fierce fighters took their vows seriously, swearing celibacy, poverty, and obedience while also taking an oath to protect pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land. So if you ever found yourself in medieval Europe and needed some holy warriors by your side, what would you look for in a knight? Well, first, you'd want someone brave enough to charge into battle. Second, you'd need someone skilled with weapons and armor. And third, you'd want someone who knew how to ride a horse because let's face it, charging into battle on horseback is always cooler than doing it on foot. Oh, and don't forget about loyalty. You want a knight who would stand by your side no matter what, right? Well, then you might be in luck because the Dark Ages were full of knights who had all those qualities and more. Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll explore the world of knights and military orders during the Middle Ages. But before we do, remember to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. The Dark Ages may not have been a time you've spent much time thinking about, but it was a pivotal period in European history. Lasting from the 5th to the 15th century, it followed the decline of the Western Roman Empire and the emergence of new kingdoms. While the term Dark Ages might sound a bit negative, this era witnessed significant cultural, economic, and political transformations that laid the groundwork for modern Europe. During this time, feudalism emerged as a dominant social and political system. Feudalism was an intricate web of obligations and relationships between the nobility, clergy, and commoners. It established a hierarchy where lords granted land or fiefs to vassals in exchange for military service and loyalty. Castles became prominent as defensive structures and centers of power, while towns and trade routes began to flourish, giving rise to merchant classes. In religion, the influence of the Catholic Church was profound, shaping not just spiritual beliefs, but also education, art, and daily life. As Europe moved from the 10th to the 11th century, a spirit of renewal known as the Renaissance began to take hold. This period saw a renewed interest in classical learning, arts, and culture. Notable scholars like Erasmus and Leonardo da Vinci epitomized the fusion of medieval piety with classical humanism. It was during this time that the invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg revolutionized the spread of knowledge, setting the stage for the Reformation. This movement, led by reformers like John Wycliffe and Jan Hus, challenged the authority of the Catholic Church, emphasizing the Bible as the ultimate religious authority. But despite these changes, the Middle Ages remained largely an agricultural society. The majority of people worked as farmers, and the economy was primarily based on the production and distribution of agricultural goods. Technological advancements during this era were limited, and most inventions were incremental improvements rather than radical innovations. Despite its challenges, medieval Europe witnessed remarkable achievements in various fields. Gothic architecture, with its soaring cathedrals like Notre Dame de Paris, showcased the artistic skill and engineering prowess of the time. Medieval universities became centers of intellectual inquiry, nurturing the work of scholars and scientists. Figures like Roger Bacon and Albertus Magnus made significant contributions to various scientific disciplines, laying the foundation for future advancements. Overall, the Dark Ages in Europe was a complex and transformative period. While often characterized by poverty and warfare, it also saw significant cultural, economic, and intellectual developments that shaped the course of European history. But enough about the times. Let's talk about the men. The knights were elite warriors who played a crucial role in medieval warfare and society. They were typically mounted horsemen equipped with heavy armor and specialized weapons. The term knight originated from the Old French word chevalier, meaning horse. Knights were not only skilled fighters but also represented a particular social class. Becoming a knight involved a formal ceremony called a knighting, where a noble, usually a king or lord, bestowed the title and privileges upon a warrior. A knight's code of conduct, known as chivalry, emphasized bravery, honor, and courtesy. Chivalry had strict codes of conduct that guided a knight's behavior both on and off the battlefield. Bravery and martial skills were paramount. A knight was expected to be fearless in combat, defending the weak and standing against tyranny. Chivalry also promoted courtesy and respect towards women, fellow knights, and even defeated enemies. Religious piety was another important aspect of a knight's code. While not all knights were necessarily devout, they were generally expected to uphold Christian values and protect the church and its followers. The use of arms was strictly regulated. A knight could only draw his sword in the presence of his superior or in self-defense. Loot and plunder were prohibited, and knights were expected to show mercy to those who surrendered. In addition to their martial duties, knights held a significant place in medieval society. They served as mounted escorts for nobles and participated in royal courts. Their presence at feasts and tournaments added an element of spectacle and pageantry to these events. But the importance of the knight shouldn't overshadow the role of the military order. While both were integral parts of medieval life, military orders were distinct entities with unique characteristics. They were essentially religious orders of armed monks that emerged during the Crusades. Tasked with protecting pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land, these orders played a vital role in safeguarding travelers amidst the chaos of the Crusades. Distinguished by their distinctive habits, these holy warriors lived communal lives, taking vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Perhaps the most famous of these orders were the Knights Templar, a legendary force in medieval warfare. Established in 1118 by Bernard of Clairvaux, an influential monk, the Templars were originally meant to protect pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem. However, as the Crusades progressed and tensions escalated, the Templars evolved into an offensive force engaging in battles against Muslims and other European adversaries. Renowned for their military prowess and unwavering commitment to their mission, the Templars left an enduring legacy on medieval warfare and religious orders. Let's take a closer look at what life was like for a knight and a member of the military order. We'll start with the knight, whose life was largely dictated by the demands of his lord. He would wake up early, tend to his horse, and train with his weapons. Tournaments were frequent, and a knight was expected to participate. When not engaged in combat, a knight would manage his estate, collecting rents and overseeing the labor of his serfs or peasants. They weren't allowed to charge for their services, but they did receive payment for their equipment and maintenance of their horse. They also got gifts of land and gold. The higher the rank, the more rewards. Loyalty was crucial, and knights were expected to swear oaths of fealty to their lords. In return, their lords were obligated to protect them and their families. Women sometimes fought alongside men, but they were usually relegated to domestic roles. Marrying a knight was often advantageous, combining resources and strengthening alliances. Children were frequently sent to live with other nobles to learn courtly manners and receive a well-rounded education. Religion played a significant role in the life of a knight. They were expected to attend church services and live according to Christian values. Many knights went on pilgrimages to demonstrate their piety. Now let's turn our attention to the military order. Life as a member was quite different from that of a knight. Recruits came from various backgrounds, often seeking to escape mundane life or seeking adventure. Poverty was key. Members didn't receive personal allowances, relying instead on donations and the support of their order. Chastity was also important, and members were required to remain celibate. Obedience to the order's rules and the authority of their superiors was paramount. Combat was central to their existence, training rigorously in weaponry, tactics, and horsemanship. They were expected to fight bravely and without fear. Prayer and religious devotion were integral parts of daily life. Members followed a strict religious regimen, including regular prayer and participation in religious services. For many, joining the order was a chance to escape societal norms and restrictions. Members came from different social classes, united by their commitment to the order's ideals and mission. Discipline was strict, and members were expected to adhere to a strict code of conduct, both in battle and in their daily lives. Non-compliance often resulted in severe punishments. Many military orders had specific focuses. For example, some specialized in pilgrimage protection, while others were dedicated to the defense of entire regions. All right, it's time for a quiz. How much do you remember about knights and military orders? Question 1. What was the name of the elite group of warriors that protected pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land? Question 2. What was the name of the code of conduct that guided a knight's behavior? Question 3. What was one of the main responsibilities of a knight in medieval society? True or false, knights were paid for their services. Now it's time for the answers. The answer to question 1 is the Knights Templar. Question 2, the answer is chivalry. Question 3, true. Knights were not paid, but they did receive payment for their equipment and the maintenance of their horse. We hope you enjoyed learning about knights and military orders during the Middle Ages. If you want to keep exploring the past, stay tuned for more historical tales. Remember to like and subscribe so you never miss an exciting episode. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. Until next time, keep asking questions and seeking answers. Who knows, you might just uncover the next big historical mystery.